All right, welcome 8th graders to day 2 of week 6. So as mentioned before, we're still focusing on this objective and we'll be focusing on it all week. The objective is 8.6D. Students will make inferences and draw conclusions based on explicit and implied information using evidence from the text to support. So for our learning target today, you'll be working with a new strategy. Our learning target is, today I will use the It Says, I Say reading strategy from Kylie Beers to make inferences and draw conclusions based on explicit and implied information using an article from Time magazine. And your lesson supplies. You will need paper and a writing utensil or electronic device, or you may even print out the It Says, I Say, and So graphic organizer found in the link provided. Okay, so before we dive into today's lesson, let's do a check for understanding from day 1. So as these phrases pop up, I want you to try to select the best term to complete the word bank, to complete the definition rather. So let's take a moment to look it over, see what you remember, and let's review. Please pause if you need some more time. Okay, so skilled readers make inferences all the time. Using evidence from the text will help you draw better conclusions. Explicit information is direct. When something is implied, that means it is not directly stated. Okay, so today and tomorrow I'm going to introduce you to some reading strategies. They may be reading strategies that you've already learned in your experience in Richmond Public Schools. And that's great. If they're new to you, then that's also great, and you can use those to really hone those skills, working on helping you develop as a skilled reader. All right. So you're going to hear me talk about Kylie Beers a lot, and there's a good reason for that. She provides some excellent resources for teachers and for students to help us develop as readers. So the strategy we're going to focus on today is called It Says, I Say, and So. And this is something that a lot of you probably do anyway, and it's a more structured way to answer questions. So you can take out your graphic organizer, or you can take out a piece of paper and a pencil, or even jot this down in your phone. So here's the template. For step 1, you're going to write the question. If you received a guided question, whether it be a history text or an English text, you can place that here. Step 2 is finding information from the text that will help you answer the question. Step 3, I say, is thinking about what you already know about that information. So as we talked about in day 1, skilled readers bring in their background information and apply it to synthesize their understanding. Step 4, and so, you're going to combine what the text says and your background knowledge to come up with the answer. So let's try an example. Okay, so we know the story of Goldilocks and the 3 bears. So the question could be, why did Goldilocks break the baby bear's chair? And there should be a question mark there. It says she sits in the baby chair, but she's not a baby, she's a young girl. Okay, so the text says that she sits in the baby's chair, but she's not a baby. Goldilocks is a young girl. Okay, we know that. And I know that baby chairs aren't very big. They're for babies. But she's bigger, so she must weigh more, of course. So she is too heavy and she breaks the chair. An easy example. Okay, so let's try it out. So the question we're going to focus on, as I alluded to yesterday, is what effect does social media have on our well-being? I thought this was a relevant question as we're spending more time probably on our phones, at home, and it's something important for us to think about both as 8th graders and even as you venture into high school. So we're going to apply our skills as skilled readers, and I really want us to remember that one of these first steps, that whenever you come across a source, I want you to consider it. Where is it from? Is it credible? Is it valuable? Is there a bias? We're going to be reading this article from Time magazine, a reputable source. However, even though it's reputable, it's always important to recognize bias. And I want you to think about, what is bias? This is a word that maybe you've heard before. And if you haven't, I want you to take a look again at this cartoon, which captures what bias is. So take a moment, pause, look at it, and try to think, how does this picture represent bias? Okay, so clearly there's an interview going on, right? And there's a woman, and she's sitting at the desk in front of a man. But what is the man thinking about? A young girl in a pink dress playing with dolls. And we can see how he already has this preconceived ideas that may impact how he feels about the person whom he is interviewing. So bias, it could be a noun, a verb, and it means a partiality that prevents objective consideration of an issue or situation. Simply put, bias means to influence in an unfair way. This is a really important term for all critical thinkers to understand. And if you would please take a moment and record this with your other terms from yesterday. And again, let's apply that important learning skill where you underline keywords or you synthesize your understanding by drawing an illustration that represents the term, or write your own original sentence where you can apply it. Pause the video for some more time here. Okay, so as mentioned, whenever we come across a source, it's important to figure out, where is it from? How do I know it's reliable? And one strategy you can use is going to All Sides, which is a website, or you can just even search bias and media, and you may come up with some reportings. So if you look at this, we see this is from Time magazine, and according to All Sides, Time magazine is often, so we're going to try to find in the report, it's always a good idea to try to remain as close to the center as possible. And then when we start getting to the other columns, we can see that it's either far left or far right. And that means maybe they're bringing in these ideals and these beliefs that can make their reporting a little less objective. So Time magazine, if you see, is right here. So it's not all the way in the furthest column, but it's still important to consider that it may have some leanings to the left. Okay, so here's our question. What effect does social media have on our well-being? Please go ahead and record that question in the first column. And again, at any point during this video, if you need more time, here is your opportunity to tell your teacher slow down by just hitting that pause button. Okay, so we have that question recorded in our first column, and then we have step 2. And step 2 is finding the it says. So what does the text have written explicitly? What facts does it include that supports a potential answer to this question? So we are going to check out this article, and we're actually going to look at the video, this brief video that includes some key points found in the article. And the article is titled, "You Asked, Is Social Media Making Me Miserable?" And the author of the article is Markham Hyde. Okay, so pause the video as you need. I'm going to press play. You will record any important information that you think would be valuable to place in the It Says column. Here we go. Okay, so hopefully you paused the video a few times and you recorded important evidence that you could include for It Says. If you didn't, please take a moment to pause now, go back, and find something to record. Okay, so step 2, we found information from the text that will help answer the question. So here are some pieces from the article that stood out to me from the video that we watched. One study found that the more people used Facebook, the more they experienced negative physical and mental health. Okay, so that's starting to make me lean one way as far as answering that question, right? But it's also important to note that that's just one study of many. So I'm wondering how many people were in that study. Are there other studies that also back up that claim? But still, it's important information to record. Okay, so another study found that for 17 to 22-year-olds, using Facebook might increase anxiety. And I also noticed that it says that Instagram may prompt people to negatively compare themselves with friends. Okay, so I have my information from the studies, from this article, and that was step 2, so now it's time for step 3. All right, so for step 3, we think about what you know about that information. So it said that Instagram causes people to compare themselves negatively, that it can cause people to feel anxiety. And I know if you can try this out too, if you log into Google and you start typing Instagram makes me feel, The Google search bar will finish your sentence, and here are some of the first terms that pop up: bad, insecure, lonely, ugly, bad about myself, depressed. So even though there were just a few studies that they shared, I know that this is a common feeling, and there's a reason why FOMO, fear of missing out, is a term. So, well, especially during this time of social distancing, I know that it can be nice to see friends that you haven't seen in person on Instagram. It can also sometimes make us feel, and make me feel, like I really miss them, or maybe they're doing something better than I'm doing. So there we have that point with comparison as well. So that's step 3. Think about what you know about the information. Okay, and step 4 is draw conclusions based on implied and explicit information from the article. I'm going to share the rest of the article with you, and I'd like for you to tell me what you think the answer is. What conclusion can you draw to best answer that question? You can please share your answers with me. I invite you to email me your answers at my email, which I provided right here. I'm looking forward to hear your responses, and even if you don't share them, I hope that you're able to draw some thoughtful conclusions based off of this strategy from Kylene Beers. Okay, so let's review. All right, so we discussed the bias is a partiality that prevents objective consideration of an issue or situation. When we read, it's important to consider the author's bias. Using the it says, I say, and so reading strategy will help us draw thoughtful conclusions. Skilled readers also relate the text to their own lives. Skilled readers construct conclusions based on facts from the text. All right, so for the next lesson, you will learn an additional reading strategy, a new reading strategy that will help us engage with the text on a deeper level. And then we will continue to sharpen our inference making skills and learn how to be happier as we do it. Looking forward to seeing you at the next lesson.